Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. The new Captain Marvel trailer came out for the movie the other day, and everybody's doing reactions to the trailer. I'm not going to do a reaction to the trailer. I'm going to do a reaction to the entire campaign to get this movie out there. Because it's my assertion that Marvel intends for this movie not to do well. It is their specific intention for the movie not to do well. And it is their specific intention also that Brie Larson fail as Captain Marvel. Now, the reason why I say this is because, well, I've been looking at the campaign and a number of things in the campaign. And a lot of people are looking at Brie Larson's acting and saying she's a block of wood. Why would they give her this movie to act in? Couldn't they see that when she started acting? They could have gotten rid of her. Why did they not do that? And usually their answer is, well, they're stupid. But I don't like to think about things in those terms. I don't like to automatically think people are stupid. I usually look for something else going on. Now I know sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but quite honestly, I would give them the benefit of the doubt and say that if you got into a position to make a $100 million movie, you're not stupid. So they just have a reason for this, which most people just can't see. And they don't want them to see it because it's part of how they're trying to influence their audience. And of course, if you tell your audience that you're trying to influence them in this way, then that influence just disappears. So to prove my assertion, I want to look at two movies and their campaigns that came out, I think, which are similar to the campaign for Captain Marvel. One would be Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and the other would be DC's Green Lantern. Now, if you are old enough to remember when The Phantom Menace first came out, for at least 6 months before the movie came out, at least there was this massive campaign to put as much as possible out there about this movie. And I can remember just walking through a mall, and this was about 2 months before the movie even came out. And there was these two older ladies in front of me talking about this, and they certainly weren't your normal Star Wars fans. They didn't seem to know anything really about Star Wars, nor did they wish to. And one of them said to the other, I really wish this stupid movie would just come out already. And that was the kind of campaign that they had. It was everywhere. And it was there because, well, Lucasfilms was very smart. They wanted to build a new audience for Star Wars. And they knew that traditionally it's not primarily the movies that kept their base, that built it either or kept it. It was their toys. It was their merchandise. And so what they did was they put out this massive campaign with everything they could think of and tried to pre-sell the movie through all of this merchandise. And then they did intend for the movie to be a success. And then after that, they would just pump out even more merchandise. But the entire thing would be centered around trying to build a fan base. And although the first part of that worked well, and the second two parts of that didn't work out so well for them, at the very least, Star Wars had enough momentum to put out the two more movies, because the two other movies were already ready in the mind of George Lucas and the writers. They had them all ready to go anyways. They were going to come out anyways. And they put out other things like the cartoons, and they did build this new fan base. There is a new fan base for Star Wars, which actually just likes the prequels. That was their introduction, and that's why they're fans. And I know that's bizarre to hear if you're an older Star Wars fan, or even just simply grew up with Star Wars around you, the older ones. It's a bizarre thing to hear, but yes, they did build their new customer base. Now, I think this is very similar to Captain Marvel. I think Captain Marvel is on a smaller scale, to say the least, but the same thing is going on if you're looking at what's going on from Marvel that's coming out about Captain Marvel and has been coming out for a while now. And I'm going to give you a couple of pictures in the background. I hope I can pull some up and show you just some of this merchandise that has been going on and being sold, and some of the things that have been going on with Captain Marvel and them trying to promote it. Now, I'll go over it sort of, let's say, by age-wise, okay? First, you got little golden books of Captain Marvel for your very young kids. Then you have your toys for your little older kids. You know, you have dolls and you have Captain Marvel Hot Wheels, believe it or not. After that, you have stationery for your kids who are a little bit older. You know, you have your school supplies for those people who are a little older. After that, you have things like Marvel Rising for your tweens, where Captain Marvel is a major part of that. After that, you have things for your teenagers like pins and jackets that have Captain Marvel symbol on them. After that, for your 20-ish people who pretend that they're teenagers all the time, you have all the Funko Pop dolls that are just coming out by the hundreds. And then you have the Marvel comic books and what's coming out with those for the older readers. And I did a video about the comic that's coming out just before the movie's coming out. I think that Marvel just put out that campaign to advertise it even before they had a story written for the darn thing. So there is this massive campaign. Oh, and there's also things like what's going on at the Tokyo Comic Con. Marvel has just these women dressed up as Captain Marvel wandering all over the place and trying to promote Captain Marvel. You know, so there's a lot going on to promote this movie. And so I think that's what's going on with this movie as well. They're trying to build a new fan base. So the other movie that I want to look at briefly is DC's Green Lantern. Now, everyone knows that they could have made a very good Green Lantern movie just focusing on Green Lantern. But no, they had to put the Green Lantern Corps in there, and it just was so all over the place that it was garbage. Now, the reason why it was so all over the place and they wanted to put the Green Lantern Corps in there was because it is a very, very large part of the DC universe, and they were intending to make a very large splash with this and make a whole bunch of sequels and a whole bunch of spin-offs and everything else. So they wanted to make it an entire separate wing of their movies, and that was their intent. Now, this failed completely, but that was their intent. Now, for Marvel, you just look at Captain Marvel and you look at the Nova Corps. They are Marvel's equivalent of the Green Lantern Corps, and they're trying to do the exact same thing. They're trying to make Captain Marvel not just part of their universe for movies, they're trying to make it this extended part that is its own separate wing, that it can make money on its own and doesn't really even have to touch the main body of their movies. It can be independent, something like a larger version of Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's their intent. And so here's the thing. It didn't work for Green Lantern. Why would it work for this new Captain Marvel movie? Well, that's my assertion. My assertion is that it's not meant to be a large success. It is certainly not meant to fail. They didn't make it so that the movie would fail, but so that it would just be a modest success. And I think it is for a number of reasons. Now, I would say that the people who were writing the movie, before they even sat down to write the movie, decided it would be a modest success, and they wrote a line for every Marvel person to speak after the movie actually came out. They are going to have a modest movie, and when someone asks them about how it's doing and all this kind of stuff, the person from Marvel, whether it be somebody who works for Marvel Comics or anybody else, will just trot out this line. They'll say, no, it was a success because we introduced Carol Danvers to the world, and we introduced Carol Danvers to a whole new generation of fans. That's what they're going to say after this movie doesn't really flop. It can't really flop. It's not going to go down the memory hole right away. There's just too much backing. There's too much momentum for the Marvel movies for that to happen. So that's what they're going to trot out. They're going to say, no, it was a success because we managed to get Carol Danvers introduced to the world and to a whole new generation of fans. And they want to do that very slowly. So if they're doing that, why wouldn't it just work out like it did for Green Lantern, for that movie? If it's going to flop, if it's not going to do well, how are they hoping to make this an entire separate wing of their movie universe? Well, here's the thing. I would say that they already have this all set up so that the second and third movie, just like your Star Wars, are already ready to go. And here's how I would say they're ready to go. They're ready to go in that the next Avengers movie that comes out, well, first of all, this movie is going to tie in so much with your next Avengers movie and with the Infinity Gauntlet that people will just have to see it if they want to know the entire story. That's kind of a given, I would say. But secondly, I would say that the new Avengers movie that's coming out after this is going to simply be the second Captain Marvel movie. It's going to focus on Captain Marvel, and it'll have all of the rest of the Avengers in there and a whole bunch of people as well, but it's going to focus on her. And they're just going to call it an Avengers movie, but it's simply going to be the second one of these Captain Marvel movies. And that's how they're going to trick people into watching another Captain Marvel movie. And they'll say, oh, look, this was a Captain Marvel heavy movie and everybody loved it. No, not everybody loved it. Just everybody went to see it because it said Avengers on it. And they wanted to know what happened in the second half of this movie. And that's what's going to happen. And then down the line, when they actually do a second Captain Marvel movie, Captain Marvel 2, it's simply going to be an Avengers movie with her almost in the background, just like it was with Captain America, the last Captain America movie. It was basically an Avengers movie. It focused a little bit on Captain America. That was it. That's going to be their trifecta. That's going to be their 1, 2, 3 movies. And they're going to switch them around like that to drag everybody into Captain Marvel so that she becomes a permanent part of the universe and she is going to become the lead for the universe. And that's how they're going to do it. Now, again, it's my assertion that they specifically put Brie Larson in there to fail. And here's the reason why. Marvel has a problem with its movie universe right now in the fact that their heroes are identified with the actors. And they did that a little bit to try to get things rolling to begin with, because the biggest example of this would be Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. You know, they wanted to use that cachet of Robert Downey Jr. to bring people into Iron Man, but really what they wanted to do was Robert Downey Jr. to ride on the back of the character, and the character to come first, whereas the opposite happened. Robert Downey Jr. used this movie to make a great fandom for himself. He has people now believing that he's suave and sophisticated and very smart, just like Tony Stark. And so the character of Iron Man actually is piggybacking on Robert Downey Jr.'s success, whereas Marvel would like it to be the other way around. They want the success of the actor to be piggybacked on the success of the character itself. And so this is what's going on. They're picking someone specifically who isn't a very good actress and someone who is bland. And they want people not to like her. All of these complaints that are coming out about how wooden she is, they want that to happen. Why? Because either the next movie or 2 movies away, they're going to say, oh, she's doing something else. She can't actually appear in this movie. We're going to get someone else to replace her. We'll find someone, and they'll find someone who is actually better than her to play Captain Marvel, and they'll switch out the actors. And they'll get people used to the fact that it's the characters that you focus on, not the actors. And they'll start this with switching out these 2 actresses and get people used to the fact that their characters are going to be switched out for actors all the time. Just like it is in 007 with James Bond, you know, switched out all the time. You focus on the character, not on the actor. And they're going to get people used to it by just switching out Brie Larson. And they're going to say to people, look, you wanted this. Yeah, we're listening to you. We're going to put in a better actress this time. And it's just to get everybody ready for the fact that they're going to start switching out everybody. That's the only reason for it. And the thing is that they want her to fail. So they know it's going to be a modest success. So the thing is that what they're doing, what this entire campaign is, all the stuff that I talked about, you know, it's not centered around the movie. All of this hype, all of these toys, all of this stuff at the Comic-Cons, it's not centered around selling the movie. It's centered around branding the character of Captain Marvel, and that's it. Captain Marvel, the movie, is simply another tool in this branding campaign to brand Captain Marvel to the world and to the new generation of audience, and to get them to buy into this character, and that the character comes first, certainly above the actress, and that they'll get used to looking for the character, not for the actress. And that's how they're putting out this movie. They're putting it out so that it's a modest success, so that they know Brie Larson's going to fail in this movie so that they can replace her. And because of her failure, it's only going to be a modest movie. They know that. And they're going to keep it going, however, through the next 2 movies, which are already preset, which they're going to switch up the titles. The next Avengers movie is just going to be another Captain Marvel movie, and the next Captain Marvel movie is just going to be an Avengers movie. And so they will build this new audience just like the new Star Wars built their audience. They're going to do it slowly, and they're going to introduce it to the new generation and to the world, and this is how they're going to brand Captain Marvel to the world and make her the head of the entire Marvel universe like they always intended her to be for the last 4 or 5 years. So, hopefully I've given you something new to think about. If I did, hit like, hit the shield in the lower right hand corner of your screen to subscribe, and leave me a comment. Tell me whether or not you think my assertion has any merit. Alright, I'll see you later. Bye.